Welcome to Design 30. My name is Jason Bilyeu, and in this podcast, I provide design strategies and tools to improve creativity, innovation, and overall design confidence. Welcome to Tuesday, everybody. I know, it's not Monday. I'm sure you were all waiting around, just checking your phones, waiting for that new episode to drop yesterday. And I apologize for that, but I had a busy weekend, very good weekend, but busy hanging out with family. And in life, you have to have priorities, right? So sometimes you can't get to certain things because something of a higher priority takes over. And for me, the opportunity to hang out with family and see people I haven't seen in a long time took priority over this podcast. And, that's just the way it's going to be for me. That's one of the priorities that I've chosen. However, I still almost got an episode out yesterday. However, didn't quite get there. So the episode's going to be coming out today on Tuesday. This won't happen very often. My goal is, as always, to have a podcast released every Monday, and going forward, that will continue to be the goal. For the most part this year, I think I've done a pretty good job of that. But today, it's coming on a Tuesday, so it is what it is. Today's episode is going to be exploring a little bit more about the idea of design thinking. However, it's not going to be going through the final steps of the design thinking process. That is coming down the line pretty soon here, so make sure to stay tuned for that. But today I want to answer this question: is design thinking dead? And you might have seen that I posted this on Twitter and on Instagram about a week or so ago. And I think it threw a few people off potentially, but it's something that I started thinking about it because of an article that I recently read. Before we dive into a little bit more depth on this episode and on this topic of whether or not design thinking is alive or dead, I want to mention that I'm posting a lot more on Medium. I think this is going to be a big thing going forward for me. I'm trying to post with a bit more frequency on there. I will still keep posting all of my writings on Substack as well. So if you're already subscribed to my Substack, you will be getting those directly into your inbox in your email. But I am starting to post on Medium. And so this is a place where you don't necessarily have to be subscribed to find it. You can just go to Medium's website and look up Design 30 or even look up Jason Bilyeu, and you will find all of those writings. So I just published an article yesterday. So make sure to go check that out. I've posted a lot of links on Twitter or on X as well. So in addition to that, please share this episode, share the podcast if it's something that you find useful. And also, as always, please rate the podcast, as I believe, or so I'm told, that really helps the podcast out in the algorithms on these different podcatcher apps. So if you're enjoying it, share it with somebody who you also think would enjoy it. Okay, now let's get back to this question of whether or not design thinking is dead. So this came from an article. This thought that I had came from an article that I read about a week or week and a half ago. And the title of this article is Design Thinking Pioneer, IDEO, Lays Off 25% of Employees. And this is written by the author, Gerard Thompson, and it's published on justlayouts.com if you want to go read this for yourself. But I saw this and I was pretty shocked. I was pretty surprised. I mean, IDEO is one of those companies that if you're a designer, if you're someone who enjoys design thinking, it's definitely a company that you've heard of. It's a company that you've read about. It's likely that you've even read books by the people who started it, the Kelly brothers. If you perhaps went to the D school at Stanford, anything like that, this is a company that it's very, very well known. They've come up with a lot of really good content, a lot of really good ideas around this design thinking and how to implement it in real ways in the real world and in real projects. So seeing that 25% of their employees were laid off, it's a pretty big shock. And later in the article, they say IDEO is set to lay off around 125 employees by the end of the year, amounting to about 25% of its global workforce. This comes as a second round of layoffs in 2023, with a total reduction of 32% in headcount for the year. And so that's 32%, right? We're approaching half the company is getting laid off. So that's a big change. There's obviously a very big shift in priority of the company. At IDEO, there's a very big shift in the priority of other companies that hire a company like IDEO. And so it's something that really, it threw me off. Maybe threw me off, like potentially it threw you off when you saw me just randomly throw this question out there the other day about whether or not design thinking is dead. I mean, what's going on here? Is this a sign that the market, or is it a sign that other companies aren't appreciating design thinking? Is it a sign that design thinking isn't working? What exactly does this mean? I think it's a really good question to ask. And so I thought about this quite a bit. And I think I've come to an answer that in my opinion, is a pretty good reason for why we're seeing this. And I'd love to hear everyone else's thoughts, everyone else's opinions. When I did post this the other day, lots of people commented, and there's some good conversation going on. That's also really fun. So if you see me pose those questions, I enjoy interacting with people. I think other people enjoy having conversations like this, just kind of trying to understand what's going on in the world of design thinking. I mean, if you're following Design 30, it's probably something that you're interested in and other people are interested in. So some really interesting, fun conversations definitely happen in the comment section. So make sure to go through those and put your opinion there and see if some good conversations start from it. But I think what's going on here for the most part is, as this concept of design thinking has proliferated, as more people have learned about it, as schools have taught it, engineering schools even have courses in it. I mean, my graduate program had a design program where design thinking was a huge part of that. It was a huge part of our product design and product development courses that we took. It's something that the D School at Stanford has been pushing. There's books and books and books on it, right? So more and more people are reading about it. More and more people are trying to figure out ways to implement it in their own work, perhaps that they do as a consultant, their own businesses, or they're trying to implement it at work. They're trying to implement it into their own workflows as engineers working in product development, or as the big ideas, people at their company trying to come up with these new concepts, these new products that are going to have a huge impact on the company and a huge impact on whatever market they're in. So this idea is just, and these concepts, these processes, they're all over the place, and so many people know them that I'm starting to question perhaps whether or not it's not so much that design thinking is dead, or that this idea, this concept isn't being used, that didn't work, it wasn't helpful. I don't think that's it at all. I actually think this is more, it worked so well and it spread so fast and it was taught to so many different people that most companies now have people in their company who are very familiar with this process, and they're probably very good at it. And they have so much access to all of the different principles of design thinking. They have access to different ways that's been implemented and examples. You can go to IDEO's website and they provide a lot of good content. You can go to YouTube. You can read, honestly, probably hundreds of books on this. So I think it's much more that these companies just already have people who are able to implement this. So you don't have to go and seek out some other third-party consultant to work with you and your team on how to implement design thinking. You've already got people who, may or may not be experts at the time, but they've got enough tools in their bag to make a difference, to improve the company, to get on that road to becoming an expert themselves in that company. So this is more of what I think is driving this decrease in need for a company like IDEO. I mean, obviously, they're having to respond to their market. They're having to respond to a lack of work if they're laying people off. And I think that's just one of the realities when you have something that it is very impactful and it's very interesting, and it's something that you're passionate about teaching. I think it just spread. Honestly, I think this is what the Kelly brothers wanted when they started teaching this. They started pushing it, started writing books on it, because they truly believe that these processes are going to not just improve companies and not just help companies make more money, but they're literally going to make better products. They're going to make products that improve people's lives. And a lot of products are made for pure consumerism, which is one thing you can go for, but a lot of other products are actually improving people's lives. There's a lot of these design thinking principles that are implemented in settings like hospitals, in clinics, in first responder tools, all these different things that have a real impact on people's lives, on people's health, and things of that nature. So I think in a way, this actually isn't a sign at all that design thinking is dead, or that doesn't work, or that it's not popular anymore, that nobody cares about it. I think more than anything, this is a sign that these were really good ideas and they were taught a lot. People wanted to learn about it and they did learn about it. And now there's a lot of people out there and a lot of people in companies that know about it. They understand it. They can implement it. So that's my theory on whether or not design thinking is dead. And in response to the question, is design thinking dead? I would say it's a resounding no. I think it's very much alive, much more so than ever before, in fact. So I would love to hear your thoughts on this. So please reach out. As always, you can reach me via email if you want at learndesign30@gmail. Well, there's not an at this beginning. I always do that because I get confused with X or Twitter, things like that. It's just learndesign30@gmail.com. You can shoot me an email, or you can reach out on X with their direct messaging. You can reach out on Instagram as well. I'm pretty active on both of those apps, and will definitely do my best to respond to you there. Or, as I said earlier, one of the best ways to do it is to respond in the comments. So whatever posts I have, I will be posting more about this same idea, asking more questions, putting more my thoughts out there. Respond in the comments, and so then you won't just get my response, you're going to get the response of everyone else who's also reading that post. So that's all I have for this fairly quick episode on a Tuesday. Again, for the most part, these episodes are going to be coming out Monday morning. That's my goal. I'm working towards that every day, every weekend. But as I said before, you have to have priorities. Sometimes these things slip a day, and it wasn't that I just slept in. If that were the case, that would be unacceptable. However, a lot of priorities had to shift around this weekend, as I said, hanging out with family. So this one, you're going to have to give me a break on this one. But going forward, make sure that you hold me accountable, that these episodes are coming out on Mondays. So I'm going to leave it there. Everybody have a great week. Remember to implement all of your design thinking principles that we've talked about on this podcast, that you've learned from books and from school. I will be coming soon, next week, with the last two principles I want to talk about of the design thinking process. So be looking for that episode. And above all else, have a great week. Make sure that you are not just learning these things and absorbing them, but also implementing them and practicing them during the week. And with that, remember, design more, despair less, and thanks for listening.